So this book, or this essay, this Nonviolent Russian Revolution essay, really is talking about three episodes. One of them is February, which is kind of famous for it being non-violent, and immediately after the Tsar fell, in Russia, the Russian people kind of fell in love with the idea of the February Revolution, and they felt totally unified and like we're all one people, and we all decided to get rid of the Tsar. And they kind of airbrushed all of the shooting and the violence and hunting down the police and like killing them in the street and stuff, which the crowds did because of the violence and repression of the police for many years, and including during the February Revolution. So that's one thing that's in there. Another thing that's in there is about the Kornilov coup attempt, and it's a very complicated story. What happened with Kornilov? But I'll try. What I've told in the pamphlet is kind of like a stripped down version of it. Kornilov was, he was a general. He was part of the whole Tsarist system. He was used to the normal way of doing things in the Russian military, and he wanted to stop all of this democracy in the army where soldiers are electing their own committees, soldiers are saying they should elect the officers, soldiers are saying the officers have got to address us respectfully instead of using this insulting forms of language to us and stuff. He wanted to restore the death penalty. He wanted to go back to the old ways, and he also thought that Russia was going to the dogs, and that military rule by him would be what would manage to save Russia. So what he did was he ordered crack troops from the front to go into Petrograd, and they would take over the capital. So each unit that was going in had particular areas that they were going to take over, particular important places that they were going to seize and hold, so that there was this whole plan for taking over the capital. But none of those soldiers got anywhere near Petrograd, because as soon as it became clear what he was up to, there was this kind of popular convulsion of people just rising up to say, we're going to stop this from happening. So there were all these units that were converging on Petrograd on the railways. The railway workers, they stick loads of carriages and all sorts of stuff on the tracks. They're loaded with timber, and then they rip up the tracks for miles. So there are these thousands of troops who just get stuck around the 27th, 28th of August, 1917, and they're stuck there, and then they get swarmed by people from like soldiers from the local garrison, people from the local factories, people from the Petrograd Soviet. A whole bunch of people come out just to talk to them and say, you're on the wrong side, you're doing the wrong stuff. And so after a couple of days of this, in 3 different locations with different bunches of elite units, all of these elite units turn against their commanders. In some places, they're talking about arresting their commanders, and they all pledge their allegiance to the government, which Kornilov was trying to overthrow. Now, one of the most interesting examples of this is there's this military unit called the Savage Division, and they are mountain people from the Caucasus, and they're known for being really ferocious, which is why they have this label, the Savage Division. My dad's a Gurkha in the British military, and so they're kind of like the Russian Gurkhas, really. They're like they're these mountain people who are known for being super tough and whatever, and fierce. And so they are on their way to Petrograd, some units from that division, and they get swarmed by all of these people coming to talk to them. 100 sailors who were once attached to that division get sent by the elected sailors organization, they select these sailors saying, you know these people personally, go there, talk to them. And there's a union of Muslims who are pro the Soviets, and they send a delegation of revolutionary Muslims to go and talk to this Muslim group of, soldiers from the Caucasus, and they have a big influence on them. So so these folk who are seen as the most dependable elite troops that the military high command can rely on, they turn against their military leadership, and they say, we're going to support the government, and we're up for arresting our military commanders. So in Petrograd, there's been this feverish activity. People have been digging trenches, building all sorts of barricades. They've been handing out arms to the factory workers. The whole city has been mobilized for a military defense. It's this huge activity, and it's completely beside the point, because the way that Kornilov's coup gets defeated is by people going and talking to the soldiers once they'd been stopped in their tracks by non-violent sabotage. So Petrograd, revolutionary Petrograd, had prepared itself for this armed defense, but what actually stopped the coup was non-violent sabotage and discussion, talking, persuading people.